Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the main event of the evening. 60 minutes of football fun and banter with Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV. Are you ready? Let's get ready to rumble.
Strap yourself in, because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
Listen on your favourite podcast platform or ask your smart speaker to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow and join in now.
This is your host, Chris.
No! God, please, no! No!
I know, I'm sorry, but he's cheap and available.
How rude.
Right, Chris. All right, good evening. How the devil are we all? Welcome along. It's the Leicester City Brighton preview. They're going to beat us. Good night.
That's all, folks.
I do feel like that this season, though. I mean, I'm going to bring my guest in a second, who is a huge Brighton fan. And as the ABBA song went, one of us is happy. One of us is lonely, and I think that one is me. Of all the teams we need to play next, it's a team that stuffed us 5-2 earlier in the season. But look, you know, this is football. Tottenham are beating Manchester City 2-0 as we speak. Sorry for any spoilers, but I mean, oh God, what a season. What a season. Mike is in. Am I okay? Ask me this time on Saturday night and I'll let you know. Spencer, nice to see you again. It's been a while. Mike says to know how the rest of us must be feeling. I'm crapping myself ahead of the visit of Brighton. So am I. Look, you know, I mean, there I was this time last season saying, look, you know, give it a break. I'm fed up with hearing Potter does this and Potter does that. Who needs Potter? When you got, is it De Zerbi? I think he's pronounced. Let's find out. We'll bring my guest in this evening. Like I say, a huge Brighton and Hove Albion fan. Chloe, good evening. How the devil are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Well, not as good as you this season, obviously. But thank you so much for joining us. Before we go any further, I will put your link in the description below, but just tell people how they can find you.
I'm British Tea Hater on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also on the Albion Obsessed podcast fairly often. So
no, good, nice. Get over there and follow you. Tell her, I mean, who needs Potter, eh?
I mean, yeah, when Potter left, I was a little bit worried. But to be honest, I did have faith that Tony Bloom would find the right person to take over, because he is just such a tremendous owner. And De Zerbi has just been even more brilliant. I feel he's a bit more direct. We just go and score as many goals as we can now, it seems like. And just, you know, he's got Solly March scoring. Lallana's got a few goals. It's just really great to watch. And I think he's a great manager. And it's been brilliant, to be honest.
I mean, last season your problem was scoring, and this season, you know, we know we've been on the end of one of them. I mean, 5-2 earlier in the season, it should have been 6-2 to you. In fairness, that was a very valid goal that was written off. But you've sorted that problem out. Goals are not a problem.
No, I think the thing is, people always used to say, "Oh, you need a striker, you need a 15 goal a season man or whatever." And I think now we've got so many different players scoring, and they might be chipping in 5 or 6, but across the season, if everyone does that, then that's really good and it adds up. And we've got a tremendous young striker in Evan Ferguson. He's 18. I can't remember how many appearances he's made, but it's not many. Most have been from the subs bench. He's got 2 goals now, and he's such a good little player. Had an amazing game again on Saturday against Liverpool. So yeah, it's a good time to be a Brighton fan.
It surely is. I mean, talk to me. I mean, you've obviously got this new manager come in, and I've got to be honest with you, it's nice to see a manager standing up to the players. And you obviously know I'm going to ask you about Trossard now. I mean, it looks like it's Arsenal is going to possibly. They do like a Brighton player or two, don't they? Is it? I mean, that doesn't seem to have. I mean, we had the trouble obviously earlier in the season with Fofana, and it kind of threw the whole team out askew. But this hasn't bothered. He's come out. He's laid the law down. He says, right, not going to play you, and you just carried on. And are you sorry that he'd be going?
I mean, a little bit, because on his day he can be a great player, but he was always very hot and cold. And I didn't really think he had an attitude. He wasn't very good leading up to the World Cup, so I thought he sort of had his head on that. And then when he got back, he wasn't, and apparently he was like late to training, and then he had a bit of an argument with De Zerbi and a senior player. I'm not too sure what went down, but to be honest, a lot of the other players, like March, for instance, have been so sort of positive about De Zerbi that I'm kind of inclined to believe him. And I think Trossard's agent as well is a bit of a
agent.
yeah. And yeah, just stirring things up. And
agent,
yeah, you don't really want that in your team. So good riddance, really. I am
very hard to believe.
a bit sorry. I always used to see him at work as well, so that's going to be quite disappointing. Not seeing a Brighton player at my work anymore.
But you've got a World Cup winner.
Yeah, we do. We do. Alexis McAllister. I was so proud that he wasn't just he wasn't just sort of there. He was sort of a big part of them winning the World Cup, and I am so proud to have him in our team. And he seems like such a lovely bloke, and he's probably my favourite Brighton player. There's a few sort of vying for that title, but yeah, he's definitely up there. He's such a good little player, and yeah, he seems really nice as well.
Yeah. Manchester City have just got one back, so it's now 1-2. So my prediction of 2-2 is on. Come on, City. I need the points. Yeah, Mike saying there, full credit to Brighton and Hove, and Terry says there, all respects to you. And he's come back as a World Cup winner, and I loved the. I think it was either on TikTok or YouTube when he walked into the ground and he had his medal and everybody was cheering him. But he's actually come out and sort of he's happy there. He's completely like the opposite to Trossard.
Yeah, maybe we are sort of looking to Europe. I'm not saying realistically we're going to get in there, but it's sort of, I reckon it's probably on people's minds. It's certainly on my mind. So it's like, why not stay at Brighton for just a little bit? You don't have to stay there forever. He's still young, McAllister. I can't remember how young exactly, but he's still got a big career ahead of him. So why not stay there a little longer? Just see what we can do. And yeah,
he's got every chance of getting the way this season's playing out. You've got every chance. Talking about somebody who's got every chance, he does like to make an entrance. I did say this last week. He's like Leicester Till I Die's very own prima donna. Let's bring him in. Craig, good evening. The devil
Good
is.
evening. How are you doing, Chris? Hi, Chloe.
Hey.
You were sent to the shops.
Well, not quite, but a busy man, but always finds time for you, Chris.
Oh, I love a creep. And you are. Is it creep or creepy? I'm not sure. But,
Either way.
we were just saying before you came in with Chloe there. I mean, what a good season Brighton are having.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing really well. I think early on the first couple of games when the new manager appointment after Potter had gone to sell his soul.
Sorry, 2-2 now, Man City. Two goals in about 2 minutes. Yeah. Yes, do more goals now. That's my prediction.
Yeah, so when Potter sold his soul to the Bright Lights of London, I think early on the results weren't great. I think there was sort of some changes going on, but since then the players have clearly bought into what he's trying to do, and some really impressive performances. It's a shame that we're meeting you on the back of them.
Yeah, I know. Not the fact that we were well beaten earlier in the season, of course. I mean, Chloe, I had you. I'm just looking at my predictions here. I'm going to be doing tomorrow like a mid-season review, but I had you down as 12th this season. You're sat in 7th now. You were talking about Europe. Why not dream? When you look at that table at the moment, and I'm desperately trying to bring it up here. I mean, you're sat there in 7th on 30 points. You're only 3 points off Spurs, or 4 at the moment because they're drawing. You've got Liverpool and Chelsea below you.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. I think there's every reason. I'm sure you'd even, everybody poo-pooed the conference last year, as we remember, Craig. But yeah, I'm sure whatever form it comes in, you just, you'll take European football, won't you?
Yeah, I'll be there no matter what. Yeah, that really excites me. Even the conference. Who cares? It's European football. That's incredible.
That's right.
And I hate to use that phrase for a team like Brighton, but just sort of since I started supporting us when we were in League One, and now talking about European football, it's just absolutely amazing.
It's living the dream, and obviously, we've been there, Craig. And this is what, to me, football is all about. I mean, you can't. Unless you're one of the so-called, big six, you can't sort of, constantly be up there. Well, even if you're Liverpool and Chelsea, you can't. But, I love seeing these teams. And if it's not going to be Leicester, like last season, I was really pleased West Ham did as well as they did. And it's great to see the likes of Brighton. You got Fulham in 6th, Brighton in 7th, and Brentford in 8th.
I think it's really important to show that you can't just buy success, that's not the only way. If you've got a good structure to your football club with a good manager and players who buy into the philosophy that the manager is trying to play, then you can be successful. And success is different, engaged differently for every club. So the likes of us, the likes of Brighton, being in the top 10 is your first success, and then starting to nibble away and getting into a European spot is the next bit. So it's always good to see and I'll take your point, Clay, but a so-called smaller club being successful. I think as a so-called smaller club, bring it on. And
in fairness, I think certainly I would. I think you would as well. We still consider ourselves a smaller club. Yeah, definitely. I mean, Craig, a quick question for you here from Terry. After our first loss since World Cup, you said you were not alarmed. Have you changed your opinion a little? A little. I think the most frustrating thing is that the manager, I am losing my patience, let's put it that way. But it's because he's so stubborn. To just say that we play 4-3-3, it'd be great if we could play 4-4-3. So that we play 4-3-3, and it doesn't matter whether you've got the players to do that. It's like saying that, I only eat cabbage, but today I've got cauliflower, but I'm not going to eat it because I'd rather starve. And
That's what his mentality appears to be. Yes, in an ideal world, if you've got all the players to play all those positions, then you play your preferred formation. If you haven't, you have to adapt. And what he's showing is that he's got absolutely no adaptability at all. So he's managing himself into a corner, to be honest.
Yeah, and clearly, I mean, just shows what happens when you change managers and get another good manager in. When De Zerbi came in, I mean, nobody, well, we certainly hadn't heard of him. You weren't sure, as you said earlier. Has he changed a lot, or has he kept the philosophy going?
Yeah, well, when he first come in, his first game was a 3-3 draw with Liverpool at Anfield. Trossard actually got a hat-trick in that game. I remember that game was absolutely amazing. And then there was a loss to Brentford on the road, a 0-0 draw to Forest. And I think I was starting to think a bit, oh. But the City game is the one which swayed me and made me think that he was going to be a good manager, even though we lost. The performance was really something. And I think the Chelsea game, the game against Chelsea, was the first one where he sort of played his side. And yeah, we won that one 4-1, and it was one of the best games I've seen at the Amex because it was just so amazing beating our old boss with our new one. And I do think he's just more direct, and he actually seems to go for it all the time. And I think he's just, some of the things he says, like, why shouldn't the fans dream about Europe? It's like Potter was always sort of managing expectations, when some fans, a very isolated bunch, booed him after that Leeds game, it was, I think the fans need a history lesson. And De Zerbi's just seems a bit more positive. Like, why can't we dream about that? And yeah, it's just great to see. And he seems like such a lovely bloke.
Well, as I say, I thought it may start to unravel, but it hasn't. As I said earlier, he's kept it going.
Just a quick one, Chris. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. You can say hello to TM. I'm sure she was enjoying the first half, not so much the second half.
No, I wasn't going to say that, TM, but I'm nice.
No, I was going to say, and apologies if you covered this just before I got in. But how do the fans feel that De Zerbi has managed the Trossard stuff that's been going on with him?
Yeah, I think from what I've seen, a lot of fans are on De Zerbi's side. In fact, everyone seems to be honest. And he even said if he wants to come back, that's fine, but the door's always open. He said, but it's just, I think Trossard's just thrown a bit of a strop from what I've heard. And there was always reports, like he'd go away on international duty and then there'd be stories about how he was looking, to play European football or how he wanted to leave and all this. So I think there's sort of been a few things in the past with Trossard, and now this, it's just sort of, it's Trossard that's the problem. And I think some of the things that other players have said about De Zerbi, like Solly March, saying he put his arm around me and told me I'm a good player, and I think that's what I needed. And sort of, it seems like the other players also, and then the fact that the other players are still playing for De Zerbi, I feel speaks for itself. It hasn't affected the squad, so it must be. Well, it has been handled well because
I think it was interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I heard Adam Lallana come out and say that he's the best manager he's played for, which is interesting because I think Adam Lallana played for Rodgers at Liverpool. So
you can never say that Rodgers is the best manager anybody's played for, can you?
Well, I'm sure somewhere Barnes must.
Mike says here, Trossard to Leicester. I don't think that's ever going to happen.
I think he's going Arsenal, isn't he?
I'm going to say he's pretty much done deal to Arsenal. I don't know if you saw the press conference or you caught up on it at all, Craig. But
no, I've not had a chance.
We are after this Victor Christensen. Apparently we also had a bid turned down for the Norwich midfielder. but we've gone in for another midfielder as well. But if anybody's interested, 7 o'clock tomorrow, I have got, and don't ask me to pronounce his name, I'm going to have to practice it overnight, but I have
Just call him Victor.
No. It's the guy I'm talking to about
Oh,
it.
right. Hey, Chris, I know that you can struggle on the easiest of names, so forgive me.
I can indeed, Cryag. I've got a Danish journalist coming up. I do not believe this. Manchester City 3, Spurs 2. Well,
That's good, because that means we're only 3 points behind Spurs, and after this game, we'll have 2 games in hand on them.
Sorry, TM. So that's just, I just can't believe what I'm watching. But he's come out, has Thomas. Sorry, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. It will be pre-recorded. We'll be premiering at 7 o'clock and talking to. His English seems certainly better than my Danish anyway. But hopefully I'll bring home the bacon and do a good job. Today, Brendan Rodgers said, the thing we've suffered from is competition. If players are not at the same level, partly it's because of competition. They need someone breathing down their neck to take their shirt. Now, I thought we had players that could come in, but Rodgers just wasn't using them.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, I think it's funny because I remember when Brendan first came here, and I think there was a Twitter site that was named Deluded Brendan. And I'm starting to understand why now, because this is why I'm losing my patience. He's just full of excuses. You know, all of the situations, apart from the injuries, and I know some people will blame him for the injuries, but every other decision is down to him. Who we've bought, I think, is pretty much down to him. So if he's not been buying players who are good enough to put them under competition, then that's on him. And I was speaking to a friend of mine last week, and he said that all of this money that's been spent on the training ground, and the fact that Brendan prides himself on improving players, that's his big thing. You know, they're in the right place to improve and get better as players. I'm struggling to think of any players who have improved over the past 18 months, to be honest. So that's why I'm starting to lose a little bit of patience. And you've seen that, you know, we nobody had heard of De Zerbi. I'm sure, I bet you hadn't, Chloe, before he turned up. So if the people who are running your club are doing their due diligence and doing their research correctly, there must be managers out there. It's just whether you're brave enough to take the plunge, I guess.
It is. I mean, looking from the outside, Chloe, are you surprised at Leicester doing so badly this season?
A little bit, but then I've also seen you sell players, and from what I've seen, not really replace them. So that's never going to be good. And you know, if you're not, I don't know how to describe it. If you're not going forward, if you're standing still, you're going backwards because everyone else. That's the one. I knew it was in there somewhere. So
good point.
And obviously, you got rid of quite a few players. I think Schmeichel was the one I was shocked to see go in the summer. He was like your keeper and your captain, I believe. Mm-hmm. And did you replace him?
Not really. We only with Danny Ward, who was already at the club, so we didn't bring in anyone who was of equivalent stature, experience, or a leader on the pitch. So yeah, I think, you know, as well as Danny Ward may have done or not as a keeper, I don't think we've replaced the voice in the dressing room.
No, that is a good point. Flipping it over, Craig, are you surprised at Brighton's success?
Not overly, just because I think they've been built on good foundations. I think, you know, whatever people think of Potter and what he did, again, you know, kudos to the board, because I don't think anybody had heard of Potter either before before he came up, and I think it was it Houghton before Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was clear that Brighton fans had had enough of that style of football, shall we say. And Potter has come out of nowhere and built some good foundations. And you can see that the players seem to know what they're doing. They know what their jobs are. They work looking from the outside. They work really hard off the ball. And that's not only to defend, but when there's a player on the ball, they create options for them. There's a lot of movement around them. So if you're well organised and you've got good players, then you're going to do well, I think, if you're all pulling in the same direction. And the team spirit seems to be there, as you said, Chloe, that, you know, the Trossard incident doesn't seem to have affected anything. If maybe it's pulled them all together, you know, that they're all, again, sometimes you need to get rid of bad apples sometimes.
I didn't really want to do this, but I've got to. Last time we met, it was a bit, I presume you went, Chloe, it was at Brighton. I mean, a humdinger of a game, and you tend to forget when you look at the final score how it went. I mean, a minute in and you were a goal down.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I had to get. We haven't got much we can take from the game, so I had to sort of.
I can't remember it that well, to be honest. It was right before Potter left. I remember that, and
last game. It was the last game.
Yeah, and it was just I can't really remember how it went at all.
Well, we went.
I know we won 5-2, but I can't remember.
I remember
McAllister at the moment.
I remember McAllister scoring one of the best disallowed goals of all time.
Oh yeah, that's it. He should have had a hat trick.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I think that was a goal. I don't know how that was cancelled. To be honest with you, but I mean, Craig. I mean, we went 1-0 up. Was all looking good for 9 minutes. Brighton equalised. Brighton went 2-0 up. Patson Daka equalised. You remember Patson Daka scoring goals, 2-2. And then we were doing very well to the 70th minute. And, 64th minute. And it all went wrong. Trossard scored. McAllister scored. Then we had 3 substitutes made. Daniel Amati came on for Yuri Tillemans. That's a great move when you're 4-2 down, isn't it? I'm just worried that we've gone back to that Leicester because we've had such an awful start.
I think that was Rodgers' favourite game because he played 2 up front and it didn't work. So now he's justified in never playing 2 up front again in his mind. But Iheanacho and Daka, combined in the first minute and scored a good goal. But it epitomised the fact that the biggest thing that is wrong with this set of players, whether it's the management of this set of players or whether it is this set of players, is that they don't have any fight in them. You know, they still walk out through a tunnel that says foxes never quit. Half of them quit before they walk on the pitch these days. And that's the thing that got us to where we are. You know, we could make up for the fact that we didn't necessarily have the best players or whatever it was, but we had heart and we don't seem to have any heart. I think someone put, one of the journalists put on Twitter a few days ago saying, striker, midfield, defence, what's the one thing that Leicester City need in this window? And I just replied with a backbone, because that appears to, that's the fundamental thing that we haven't got.
Yeah. I mean, Chloe, you must be sat there listening to this thinking, bring it on. This is 3 points in the bag.
I mean, I always get nervous playing teams that aren't as good. We seem to struggle more against sort of lower half teams than teams that are like top 6. So I'm a little bit nervous, but at the same time, I feel like we should win, really.
I mean, we've not beaten a team in the top half of the table. Is it for over a year, Greg?
I'm not sure. I thought you were just going to leave it as we've not beaten a team.
Oh, if you don't laugh, you'd cry, wouldn't you? It really would. I mean, looking at the last 6 times that we both played each other, I think you can say that there's probably going to be some cards because we've had 7 yellows and Brighton have had 5. But we've won 3, they've won 2, 1 was drawn. But I tell you what scares me, and it's the form at the moment. I mean, in the form table, Brighton are in 7th, so pretty much where you are in the table, and Leicester for 14th. Worrying thing is that when I look online at these things, it goes the last 6 games. But if you have a look at the last 4, Greg, since we come back from the World Cup, it's lost. And we only just managed to scrape past Gillingham in the cup in 1-0.
That's true. I think there is patterns emerging as there was in the start of the season. This is almost like a repeat of the start again in the second half of the season, that we were actually in games and that we couldn't finish teams off. A couple of those games we shouldn't have lost to Fulham. We gave them 1 chance and they took it. And we missed 3 or 4 again the other day. We missed chances at Forest. It's not like we're not creating chances. We're just not clinical enough. And that comes from, in my opinion, a lack of confidence. And when confidence goes, it's really, really hard to get it back.
Chloe, looking at your away form, because obviously you are away from home. I'm sorry, Craig. It doesn't get any better than I did the stat show earlier, and I think I came off just wanting to jump out the window. I was struggling to find anything positive. Brighton, when you're looking at just the away form, are the 5th best team in the league. They've played 9 away. They've won 5, drawn 1. They scored 19, and they got 16 points from it. Your home form, Chloe, not quite so good. Still, won 4, got 14 points, but that's what I like. Whether you're home or away, and obviously, it's slightly better away, but you're putting on the performances.
Yeah, I mean, this season has just been incredible. I don't think last season we were very good at home at all. This season we seem to be turning it around a little bit. And we've had some great wins at home against you guys earlier in the season, against Chelsea, and obviously beating Liverpool on Saturday. But yeah, our home form's never been as good as our away form.
Yeah. And Craig, our home form, right? We've played 9. And this is just going to put a huge big smile on Chloe's face. We've played 9 at home. We've won 2. We've drawn 2. We've lost 5. Scored 9, conceded 10. And we are 18th in the form table when it comes to home games. It's I just don't know where I can't see where the next win's coming from.
No, it is worrying. And I think, as I say, the longer it goes on, the more confidence seems to drain away. And as I said to you last week, I think before the Forest game, I know you posed the question of, if we lose, is it Brendan's last game? And I said I didn't think it was, because I think they will be basing a lot of it on this game. Because if we do lose, then the atmosphere will be toxic, I think. When you need the fans to get behind the team, I don't think they will do if it goes against us, to be honest. And it's going to be really hard for the board to not listen to the noise, I think. So, and I think it'll feed them a decision. So if we win, they'll be like, great, let's build on it. Let's try and turn the corner. Let's get behind Brendan and the boys. If they lose, it'll be, Brendan, you can hear the noise out there. It's turned toxic. It's not good. We have to act. So I think this game plays into the board's hands in terms of whatever decision that they want to make. And I think it would not surprise me if we win, he stays. If we lose, he goes.
I mean, I think he should have gone already, but it's a very good point that you make there. It's the home game, and I mean, we're in a position now where we're banning anything over A4 size envelope or anything going into the crowd in case it's a banner about getting out. There's talks about people flying over the stadium, with the old banner behind them. I mean, it's. I did a show last night with Dave, and we were looking at some of the worst managers in our history, and he agreed. He went Frank McClintock, and I haven't felt like this, if I'm honest with you, since the David Pleat years, probably.
Yeah. I mean, I would never put Brendan into those positions. Yes, we should have had 2 top 4s, but we had 2 top 5s and we won the FA Cups. And I think, whatever, this at the end of it, this is still Leicester, who have never won the cup in their history, and he won the cup. So we can't decry what he did do. We can argue that he should have done better, but quite frankly, 2 5th places in an FA Cup, there's a hell of a lot of teams who would have taken that in the past 3-4 years. But now I think, I think managers and players have shelf lives, and you have to change things to keep it fresh. And if you don't have the money to back a manager to change the whole team, like they used to do at Man United, he made 3 or 4 different teams, Ferguson. Wenger did the same. If you haven't got the money to do that, then by law of the accountancy, you end up changing the manager.
You do, but it's all this sort of, there are players. Why are there all the injuries occurring? Even, he's on his door, it says manager, and the book stops with him. But you might want to just cover your ears for this next question I'm going to put to Chloe Craig. I just want to go through your last games, Chloe. You put 3 past Liverpool. You put 5 past Middlesbrough. You put 4 past Everton. All right, you lost to Arsenal, but you still got 2 there. You put 3 past Southampton. I mean, can we just play, 10 at the back? I mean, you are. We touched on it earlier. You're scoring for fun. I mean, that Liverpool game, Jesus, Liverpool. We can see Spurs. Sorry, TM, if you're still in, are not having the best of seasons, and we know Chelsea are struggling. But to host Liverpool and beat them 3-0, I mean, we scored 3 goals and couldn't beat them. 2 of them were in the wrong end. But I just, did you get? I mean, you must have gone to that game. What was the atmosphere? And
Oh yeah, it was a really good atmosphere. Honestly, some of the best, but probably the best game I've ever been to in terms of performance. Some of the stuff we were playing, it was just so amazing to watch. And every single player, was a 10 out of 10 performance, and it was just amazing, really. The ground was buzzing. It was epic.
I do a thing here with the stats, and it shows sort of the strengths of the both teams and the weaknesses of both teams. And the strengths, we've got 2, Craig. Brighton have got 6. But I just want to go through the weaknesses, because Leicester apparently, and it's based on the games we've played this season, but Leicester's weaknesses are defending against skillful players, protecting the lead. I mean, we know that. Stopping opponents from creating chances, aerial duels, defending counter-attacks, defending set pieces. They're all weak. And then we've got defending against long shots is very weak. Brighton's weaknesses, none. They haven't got anything down. I mean, we might as well just turn up, kick off, let them score and go home.
I think they could have saved a lot of words there and just put Leicester City weaknesses, playing football.
Yeah.
Just leave it at that, save a lot of trouble. It's not good, is it? And I can understand Chloe's optimism. I'm sure most Brighton fans will be gleeful, not only that the fact that they're playing us, that the fact that, Man City have turned it round against Tottenham and you've got 2 games in hand. So, it's one of those games, but we know football's a stupid game. Very often when everything points to one result, you get another one, and we desperately need it. I think it's fair to say, Chloe, I think we need it more than you. So come on.
Yes, yeah. We were kind to you earlier in the season. Take pity on us. I
Don't
don't.
want to.
Looking at it here, I mean, action zones. We if we only get 28% in the opposition's. No, we're Leicester. 26% in the opposition's half or last third. We don't seem to be able to get into that last third, Craig. We seem to sort of play nice, fancy passing football up until that point, and then give it away.
That's because of the formation that we're playing now, 4-3.
That's it.
Yeah.
Do you think Brendan's worked out that we've actually can use 5 subs yet?
I don't know. I've stopped trying to second guess Brendan. As you know, I've been a supporter of his, but it is wearing very thin. But you know, he needs to. He's in a position where which I don't understand, where he can take chances. You know, if your back's against the wall, sometimes you come out fighting. You know, or you're just trying the same thing over and over again and expect something different. You know, he should be thinking, right, what's the best way to beat this Brighton team? And all you can think of is that they don't do any research on a team beforehand, because we come out, whoever it is, and play exactly the same formation and play in exactly the same way. Nothing seems to change. It's like Groundhog Day.
It is. I mean, I can get all these stats up on the system. I'm sure if Brendan wanted to, he could actually find these. Looking at the probable lineups here, Chloe, they've got you down as a 4-2-3-1. Is that how you think he'll play tomorrow, De Zerbi?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right.
And we've got the same, Craig.
4-2-3-1. Yeah. Well, potentially. I know he looked at playing two holding midfielders, but you know, hopefully he'll play Mendy. I think he needs to play Mendy. He needs to take the game to Brighton. I think you're at home. The emphasis is on you on us to take the game to Brighton and start on the front foot, and that's something that we're not very good at doing as well. He needs to pick the most physical team for me. I think it's one of those where you have to win the battles. There was a 20-minute period in the game against Fulham where we got really aggressive and we looked much better for it. We were winning the ball high up the pitch, closing down, and that's where your turnovers are. When we win the ball, it's usually the fact that it's been given back to us, but we're so far back down the pitch that we're not turning the ball over in dangerous areas, and that's why, you know, the number of chances that we're creating or the number of touches we're having in the final third is so low.
I mean, Chloe, you know, as the away team, you've just got to sit there and almost just, because the longer it goes on and we don't score against you, and then if you were to score against us, the crowd are just going to turn. So really, Brighton are in a win-win situation.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. Yeah, I just hope it doesn't all go wrong, because I remember I did a stream before the Liverpool game and they were all saying how negative they were feeling about the game. And I was just like, oh my God, that makes me so much more nervous than if they were all positive. Because I always feel like those are the ones you mess up on when you feel like you should win. So I hope we don't sort of underestimate you in a way.
I can't remember the last time I felt we would win. I'd love to have that feeling back. But talking about winning, and we'll let you go in a second, Chloe. We'll go on to score predictions, and I haven't got them all in at this end. But Craig, you've gone for a 2-1 Leicester win.
Yeah, that's more in hope than reality. You know, we've got to try and think positive at least.
The man's a fool. Cedric Morecambe used to say. I've gone 1-1, and I'd take that now if you were offering me that. Brad's gone 3-0 to Brighton, and Steve Lynick's ex-player's gone 2-0 to Brighton. They're trying a bit of reverse psychology there. Chloe, you got to see it as a Brighton win. What's your score prediction?
3-0.
I think I don't know whether we could keep it down to that, to be honest with you, but I do think I am worried. I'm not going to be lying. We'll be doing the watch along from behind the sofa. But look, Chloe, fantastic. You're having a great season. I hope you get into Europe. I really, really do. Just not could you wait maybe 3 days before you actually go for it? But thank you so much for coming on and joining us and giving your views. Again, just remind people where they can find you.
I'm British Tea Hater on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also on the Albion Obsessed podcast. So.
Get over there and or hide if it doesn't go our way. Chloe, thank you so much for coming on. It's a pleasure as always. Take care, and like I say, after Saturday, good luck for the rest of the season.
Cheers, Chloe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye bye. She went that quick then that I clicked on her and she clicked on you. I mean, if you're a Brighton fan, it's great times, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to enjoy it, don't you? You know, your team's playing attractive football, and not only that, you're getting the results to go with it. You know, it's not that long ago that was us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, tops in the country apparently.
I think it'll be in the country anyway. I think because there's, it's a transfer window where there's a few things bubbling under. But as I say, I've thought for a couple of weeks now that this would be the game, that it would all come to a head one way or another. This is almost the classic back him or sack him game, I think.
Yeah. TM, if she is still in the chat, is probably she's gone from orange face to red face, I think. It's now Manchester City 4, Tottenham Hotspur 2. From 2-0 up, they've just complete. I mean, to be honest with you, it's defending that Leicester would be proud of.
Yeah. They've done a Tottenham. That's what they've done.
Yes, they have, haven't they? The TM is still Ishka's not happy. Now you know how we feel this season, TM. Welcome to our world. Mike says here, Chloe was most pleasant. She was very nice. She's very nice. And, we do this and we have a bit of banter, and that's what it should be like. Just talking, if you're okay again for a couple of minutes, Craig. You did. Mike said he went 4-2. You did. Transfers. I mean, we're talking about Victor Christensen.
Yeah.
He looks well. Apparently, they've agreed personal terms. The medical is set up. It's just a case of finalising details. I can't believe that I was reading, because that's how it came up, competition for Thomas in the team, and I can't believe I was reading what Brendan Rodgers said, to be honest with you. We have got that show tomorrow, premiere. It's not going to be live, but premiering at 7:00. We'll find out all about him, but he does look a good prospect, and we do need that, don't we?
Yeah, we do. I mean, I was talking to Scott yesterday about him, and he obviously does a lot online, and he's talking to people from all over the world. And he was saying that usually in these situations, if the fans are upset about him going, particularly for the fee that he's going for, then that's usually a good sign. And the Copenhagen fans don't seem particularly happy at all that he looks like he's leaving. So hopefully we've picked another good young one out.
Yes, indeed. And talking of the young one, as Scott's just said there, and you can read my mind, Scott. Apparently we've submitted, Leicestershire Live say it's World Cup ace. I don't know if I'd go that far or not, but Harry Souttar at Norwich. And we've got, we've had a good player or two off Norwich, haven't we, down the years? £10 million has been declined. But again, he's a young midfielder. Everybody's talking highly of him. But if that's not going ahead, apparently we have now put an offer in for lease midfielder Morgan. There we go. I thought I was doing well with Christensen. Morton. No, he's not the guy from Aha.
Morton Harkett.
Yes, Morton Hume, and we'll leave it at that. Morton.
Yeah.
But apparently Forest, Leeds and Southampton are also interested.
He must be a player that everybody in the bottom quarter of the table is after then. So
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know a lot about Harry Souttar, to be honest. I assume he played for Wales, did he?
I'm guessing that's where.
If he's a World Cup ace,
yeah.
I'm not sure how well they did to become an ace, but or I'm
No.
not sure how well Norwich are doing for him to be an ace. But I think you could probably pick up Cantwell for nothing at the moment. And it wasn't long ago that he was the player that everybody wanted.
Yeah, he's looking at Scotland apparently.
Yeah, I think he's out of contract, isn't he? So it looks like he's going to Rangers. But I mean, the thing is, these are all well and good, but they're not necessarily the players who are going to get you out of trouble now.
No.
And you need, maybe we need a couple of experienced players. I mean, West Ham are turning to Danny Ings, aren't they? An experienced Premier League player. Maybe that's what we need, a couple of older heads to just, steady the ship a little bit and just get some experience in. But
sorry, I have to say,
Stoke, not Norwich, yeah.
It is Stoke. The reason is because I'm looking at a picture of Harry Souttar on the screen, and he's wearing yellow top and green shorts, and that's because he's Australian.
Right, okay.
Played for. I looked at it and was like, Norwich. Yeah. So he's playing for Stoke. So he's got the experience. I think he's.
There was a couple of decent Australian players, to be fair, that I do remember. But
yes. Yeah, I mean, but do you think it is finished 4-2? By the way, do you? None of us got that right either. Do you think that
some of us did put Riyadh in their fantasy teams this week? So,
oh, did you?
Just saying, yeah.
I
think he scored 2 and he got an assist. So,
nice one.
Some management.
You can't moan about that, can you? I've got Andy Lockhead's number, says Mike. If you were watching the show last night, Mike, I can't remember whether you were in or not. So do I, because his daughter used to be my neighbour in Burnley. I don't know about this. Terry says, dare I say they're buying for the championship?
Yeah, I don't think that's anything that a club does, to be honest.
No,
you can't do that. You have to. You've got to buy to stay here, because
it will be in their minds. I'm guessing it's got to be.
It is, but you don't start that buying now. You know.
No,
I think what they're doing. They're doing what we did do. They're identifying young up and coming prospects.
Yes.
Trying to bring them in for decent fees, knowing that after 2 or 3 seasons they'll sell them on. That's our philosophy. That's the way that the club is run. We've just been unlucky, I guess, that it's got a little bit stale, and we've been caught out with injuries for the past couple of seasons that has showed off the lack of squad depth.
And let's not forget, we shouldn't knock these lower league players or reserve team players. I said earlier, who Muzzy is it? Was only a reserve team player. Robbie Savage was. Oh, fair enough. I'll choose the argument down. But
Neil Lennon, another one. Yeah,
Jamie
Neil
Vardy.
Lennon was another one.
Lennon,
all of that.
yeah.
Steve Guppy. It's all about management, formations, but also the mindset of the players. We go back to that league-winning team. None of them would have got in any other team. Well, at the start of the season, none of them would have been picked up by anybody else.
No.
Obviously, at the end, they've become superstars, some of them, but they were the right players who had the right kind of mentality. And Ranieri kept it simple, It didn't ask players to do things that they're not capable of doing. Defend, get it to one of the midfielders, or kick it up to the forwards who'll score. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yes. I mean, do we? I mean, I said, are they for the here and now? Why not? They can't play any worse. It's not like bringing somebody from the youth team through. We're bringing a player from the Championship, which is technically could say sometimes a harder league than the Premier League. So they're gonna. I mean, the guy that we're looking at, from the Danish defender, Christensen, he's an international.
Yeah.
He's only 20, but he's an international.
Yeah, he's got Champions League experience. What you would hope is that they bring physicality and dynamism, because that's what we've lacked. And we missed that with Ricardo. We missed that with James Justin. Two players who play on the front foot and want to get the ball and get forward as quickly as possible. Yeah. Now we're too tentative. We play tentative football, and that's the problem. So you need players who you can get on the front foot, win the ball, but look to go forward.
Yeah, no, agree. I mean, Scott says there, Craig, he said a lack of squad depth as Brendan has all managed to have the favourites. I mean, I'm going back to that competition thing. And, if we bring these players in, how long is it going to be before they actually get a game? Because they're going to bring it in. Let's say we bring, a couple of defenders in. He'll still be playing FaZe. I mean, FaZe is completely, his confidence is gone. Mm-hmm. I love him as a player. He's a no-nonsense midfielder, but you can see his confidence is gone. His performances have not been the level that they were pre-World Cup. And he's obviously got the 2 own goals. Goals have been going past him, and his confidence is gone. Amati, and I like Amati, but he's got a mistake in him. Mm-hmm. And yet we have, a World Cup, defender there in Soyuncu, that it doesn't, if they're, if he's going to rest them, he's got the players to replace. He just doesn't want to. So to sit there and say, we need competition. Competition is there. It's basically, it's BBS again, isn't it? Brendan's bullshit.
Yeah, you're right, Scott. You're right. There are players there who should be given a chance. Players who were brought to the club, and this is where you want a journalist to call him out. It's not a difficult question to ask.
No.
If that's what you're saying, that these players have not got enough competition, why do you not play the players that are on the bench? Are you saying that these players are not good enough to be competition for those who are playing?
Yeah.
And if not, why not? Because you brought them to the club. You didn't bring Soyuncu, but you brought the others.
Yeah.
So ask a difficult question now and again, journalists.
I actually sent an email this week to the club, to their publicity department. The
Angry or cool.
Almost like that. And I marked it. I'm just going to get it up now. But I marked this. Where are we here? Sent. Where are we? For the attention of Anthony Herrley, who is like the press manager or whatever. And I put here, I realise that as a club, you only speak to accredited outlets, and that all the fans get to see is the carefully written and checked press releases and programme notes you want us to see. And I go on about the club changing, the need to be. And it's funny because he said about the clubs being transparent. Yes, we see the press conferences and the press releases, but they do not answer the questions and worries that a lot of fans have. I do not believe that currently the club is as close to the fans as it recently was. Why don't you send somebody or let somebody come on, talk to me? It will be, not going to sort of get the knives out, but I will ask the questions that the fans want to know. And I sent that on Sunday, Sunday morning, and not had a reply. Not even a thing of like, sorry, you're not accredited, can't do it. And that says it all. Yeah,
it's there are a lot of worrying things going on. There has been that lack of communication. I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because it's like when anything's going well, everybody's bright and breezy and you're happy to chat, because it's all going to be positive. And when it's not, it's a much more difficult thing. And with the best will in the world, we don't know really what goes on behind the scenes at a football club. We've got no real idea of what's happened in King Power's business over the period of the COVID situation. we don't know these things. Yes, it would be nice to have some insight into that. We don't know how much they're allowed to say. You know, you're not going to talk about specific transfer targets, so they have to be vague and say it's going on behind the scenes and we're working our best. So you're never going to get a better one than that. But I think there are questions that should be asked about the current squad that we've got. And that's where, you know, we just want to know. And again, I know it's difficult for a manager to be vocal and critical of his employees. Let's put it that way. Because you wouldn't want it in your own workplace. You wouldn't want your manager coming out and saying, well, actually, I've got Bill in the warehouse. He's not doing a great job, to be honest, and I'm looking for a replacement. But no one's ever going to come out and say that. So it is difficult on what they can and can't say. But it would be nice to have some of the easier questions dealt with, you know, and I think that's where the fans get frustrated. And if you're not putting that out there, then you leave everything open to conjecture.
Exactly.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, and that's what I said, you know, we got in the summer window, nobody knew what was going on. Yeah. So we all made our own minds up as to what was going on. Rodgers was left out, hung out to dry. I've got to back Rodgers on that. I do believe he was. And it was only sort of on the last day of the transfer window when nothing could be done about it, the top put some notes in the, you know, in the program for that day. But it was the last day of the window. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. I did put in it. I don't suppose I'll hear something from you. And if it is, it will just be a you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It will just be a standard. We can't talk to you sort of thing. But no, you know. But there we go. There we go. Craig, if I can ask you to stay backstage, I've got a quick question for you to ask off, if that's okay. Thank you very much. Fingers crossed. The only good thing is that you're going to see it and I'm not. So
there's got to be a good game sooner or later, surely. Yeah.
Maybe we're just trying to do another great escape.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Brilliant, mate. Thank you so very much.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you to Craig, my wise old owl, as always there. Knows what he's talking about. Well, I suppose one of us has to. Look, hey, like I said, tomorrow it's a double show day.
Coming up next on Leicester Till I Die TV.
Seven o'clock tomorrow, we are talking to Danish journalist. I'm gonna try and pronounce his name. Jonas Daugard. I think it is Jonas anyway. I can say his first name. It will be a pre-recorded, but it'll be premiering at 7 o'clock, and he's going to give us all the lowdown on. I did speak to another Danish, actually. This was interesting. I did speak to another Danish journalist as well, and he says it looks like it's all going to be going through. So we'll get the lowdown on that tomorrow. And then at 9 o'clock, it's normally, of course, question time, but tomorrow we're going to have a mid-season review and talk about how all the clubs have done. So sloppy seconds at 9, 7 o'clock for the transfer special. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, and we appreciate that. And if you have subscribed, please do smash that likes button. Again, that really does help. Mike is off. He's got an early start, but I'm going as well. Don't everybody read anything into that. And Scott's gone 2-0 to Brighton. Thanks to everybody for watching. If you've been listening on the podcast, there's going to be some big podcast news coming soon. So please stay tuned for that as well. I should have some news on that next week. I will see you all tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining in. Thanks to Craig and thanks to Chloe for coming in. Take care, stay safe, and remember, don't do anything I wouldn't enjoy. Good night.
That's all, folks.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
Leicester till we die.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You'd better like them too, or I'll be back.